here, starting with the presentation by Keith. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good to see you guys. We're back in action. And good to see you guys here as well. Basically what we're going to talk about, and I got some extra maps that I thought I might send around. It's the same map. They just kind of depict land uses. Go ahead. One is just about, they're the same area. You can go ahead. Okay. That's the land use map, meaning how the property.
They're all the same.
It's going to be the same boundary. I mean, it's going to depict the same thing, but the boundary is the same. Yeah, all those are the same map. And I can get you whatever you need. I like to show it in different manners. But again, thank you, Mayor, and good to see everybody again. My name is Keith Moran with Moran Economic Development. We've been retained by the city to review an area for purposes of establishing a business district and a TIF district. More specifically, what we've been hired to do at this point in time is what we've called a pre-eligibility study. And the purpose of a pre-eligibility study, there hasn't been any formalness about moving forward with a TIF or a business district at this point in time. You guys can elect or not elect to do so. But what we wanted to do is work with the city and look at a variety of factors. In order for a municipality to establish a TIF district or a business district, the area has to qualify under the Illinois TIF Act or under the Illinois Business District Act, meaning certain factors need to exist in that area in order for you to create a redevelopment, TIF redevelopment plan or business district redevelopment plan or both. And so what we wanted to do, and I thought it would be a nice exercise, sort of take a conscientious approach to moving forward, is do what's called a pre-eligibility status. So we just kind of look at the area, see how she qualifies, just get some dialogue, kind of talk about the area, that sort of thing. And so all I was pretty much going to do is talk to you about what we found as we went through on a parcel-by-parcel basis from a qualifying standpoint. And I might interchangeably, these are two different programs, TIF and Business District. TIF deals in property taxes, Business Districts deal in sales taxes. The area that I'm focusing on is, from a mapping standpoint, is that boundary area of which is depicted on the maps that you guys have had. Certainly you guys have maps already depicted, which begins on page 2 of the report that we provided. And so I'll just take you through that, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes.
Where we talk about the area that, so for purposes of the study, we're really only looking at this area and the qualifications that exist within it. This particular area has about 317 parcels of ground within the area and is depicted, obviously, per the map that we have. And I'll get you an electronic version as well of all of this, for that matter. It's a lot of mixed use. We focus the majority of our efforts on commercial and industrial property. Now, that doesn't mean that some residences aren't in. We need to stay contiguous as well. How are we doing? Yep, very good. But we did try to pay particular attention to commercial structures for the most part, as opposed to residential. Sometimes residential is just going to be in because either A, we were going from one place to the next, or B, sometimes residential property can ultimately become commercial property. Because when you look at TIF and business districts, you're planning for over a 23-year time frame, especially with some of our properties here in downtown. Someone could petition, that probably happens up and up, where a house, or someone that owns a house sells it to a insurance agent and they convert it to a commercial structure. So those would be other reasons. There is quite a bit of what I would call institutional property, or those that's depicted in blue, that's tax-exempt property. That could be anything from the school district itself, and I understand that you guys wanted to be included in the area, and we did in fact add you. It could be the water plant, it could be a church for that matter. But mostly tax-exempt properties could also be included in the TIF for a variety of different reasons. So what we did was we went on a parcel-by-parcel basis and just kind of documented or cataloged a variety of qualifying. To qualifying factors, checking to see whether or not the area was impacted by them or not. And beginning on, there's a lot of mapping, worked a lot of GIS work, a lot of field work. We've been in your town, walking the streets, to look at these sorts of things, studied a lot of property tax data, looked at a lot of FEMA-related type information. And so we sort of looked for that. TIF and business district, largely, they qualify a little different. The standard of qualification for TIF is a little bit more intense than it is from a business district standpoint, but they're largely the same type of qualifying criteria, meaning ABC needs to exist in order for you to do TIF. I would classify it by saying AB needs to exist in order for you to do a business district. Does that make sense? So they're largely kind of the same. And so just kind of taking you through this. There we go. Front back. I'm starting on page 6. We're obviously focused on an aging part of town. We've got about 435 structures within the TIF, within the study area, with about 399 of them being over the age of 35, and this is per tax records, county records. So, which basically means the average year of construction in this area is 1941. We're focusing on an older portion of town, which is common when folks review an area for TIF purposes. The idea, oftentimes those are older parts of town, have building issues, structural issues. They're deteriorating, they're vacant, they're dilapidated, all a variety of types of issues. And from a TIF perspective, it's important to understand how many structures are in our area, because if the area has more than 50% of their buildings over the age of 35, that means from a TIF perspective, you'd need to find 3 qualifying factors from that point forward in order for you guys to legally establish a TIF. We have plenty more than those 3 factors. The area suffers from obsolescence. Basically, 10% exhibit some form of obsolescence, meaning there's a lot of the buildings that are within the area are functionally obsolete. There's also economic obsolescence, where a lot of those parcels, of the 44 developed parcels, they've have lost significant value over time. Meaning these particular parcels are worth less than they were since 2009. We also have deteriorating conditions. Are present in 394 of the 435 structures. So roughly 91% exhibit some form of deterioration. That could be anything from a roof, foundation cracks, windows, fascia, that sort of thing. Not uncommon when you're focusing on an aging part of town. But also parcel-wise and develop-wise, we also have some issues from a surface deterioration standpoint. And what that involves is a review of the streets, the sidewalks, the driveways, those parking lots. And we have 86% of those have some form of surface deterioration, which, and that's distributed throughout the area. And so ultimately, should you guys do a TIF, deterioration and obsolescence thus far are going to be qualifying factors under the Illinois TIF Act. Not uncommon at all. Inadequate utilities, and Larry, and thank you and your staff for helping us with that. We had a really nice discussion with it regarding analyzing the utility system. The area definitely suffers from inadequate utilities. You guys are hard at work in making improvements. And continue to be hard at work at making improvements, but our focus area, there are some need areas that we need. TIF is often used to fund for public infrastructure, as you guys are already aware, because you use the TIF program for a variety. You have used the TIF program in the past to do a lot of repairs, public infrastructure-wise. The area's got a variety of water line issues, sewer line issues. We've got an older water tower. We've got a sewer treatment plant that's in need of some upgrades. I'm not going to bore you with each and last detail, but the vast majority of the developed parcels suffer from under the Act inadequate utilities. The next two, I'll just be a little quicker. The area does suffer from incompatible land use relationships. And that is not uncommon at all. Like I said, we gauge the issue with what the Illinois TIF Act has to say. We've got a lot of mixed uses, which is not uncommon. We'll have an industrial site next to a residential site. In an ideal world, had we appropriately gridded out the system, the city would look a lot different than what it would. We'd have our industrial areas in a very specific region, our residential areas in a very core area, our commercial separated, to allow for vehicular traffic flow, unloading and offloading. We take into consider noise restrictions and all those other types of things, and thus the area does, from land use and also from a lack of community planning, that's kind of segueing in. The area developed long before you guys ever had a comprehensive plan. The area kind of just developed in a general sense of order. There was no overlying plan like there might be now. Right now I just noticed you got a plan for West Side redevelopment. You got a real issue on how to tackle that. You didn't have this back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. EAV wise, we've got stagnant and in some cases declining property values. Our friends from the school district are certainly aware of that issue. Hopefully it's not hitting you as hard as it does the city. You've got obviously a larger tax base to pull from, but I mean it's an issue. It's been an issue for taxing districts, no matter what, just based on the economy. Our area has grown very little over the last 3 years, and one of the things that we need to look at is 3 out of the last 5 years you've had very close to stagnant, or in one instance declining property values. Now what I'll say is, remember, we're only focusing on the properties that we're evaluating for TIF and business district purposes, which generally means that we are focusing on the right area. Because the idea behind a TIF is to make public infrastructure improvements and to, I'll make sure I don't get ahead of myself, but the idea behind the TIF is to make improvements to public infrastructure. If you've got a bunch of deterioration, dilapidated buildings, those types of things, you're going to want to use the TIF program to help folks make repairs to those buildings and to improve those buildings and to get some folks in there as well, because that increases our tax base. That's the idea behind the whole TIF. As you guys are aware, I'm just trying to make sure our friends in the audience understand that as well. We kind of looked at it a little bit different from a business district standpoint. There's diversity of ownership, obsolete planning. We do have deterioration of structures or site improvements in neighboring areas. We do have flooding issues, not only from documented FEMA maps, but you guys are well aware of the flooding issues that exist within, in a lot of places in the city, or enough places in the city, but certainly our TIF district area is impacted by flooding concerns as well, which ultimately means the use of TIF or business district funds can be used to alleviate those flooding concerns. Rebuilding your storm sewer network, those types of things to alleviate flooding. The area also, incidentally, like I said, we utilize the TIF and Business District Act. The area does consist of unused rail yards, rail tracks, or railroad rights of way, which allows it to qualify as well. I'm not stating that the city's going down the tubes because of that, but that does impact the area from a qualifying standpoint. And moving forward, you'll kind of see the flood. We've documented sort of the flooding concerns that, like I said, I know exist beyond just what FEMA says. And so that map's there. But ultimately, if you guys were to utilize this basic area, and you were going to say, this is where we want our TIF district area to be, or our business district area, the area quite easily is going to qualify under the Illinois TIF and Business District Act. A full-fledged eligibility study is going to look so different, but there would be some other factors that we would weigh over and above what we've weighed here if you guys went and move forward with TIF or business district. But it's clear that the area is going to qualify, and we've got some issues that the TIF certainly and business district can certainly rectify, much of which I've already kind of mentioned along the way. A couple of things I would say. We kind of looked at it from the same area, the business district. I think this is a solid TIF area. I think, there's been a lot of discussions you know, we want to do this right. This thing lasts up to 23 years. We want to make sure you don't want to have me come back 5 years from now and say, hey, we need to add 5 parcels. We're trying to get this done right the first time, as always. Of course, I'm always willing to come back, but I'd rather us just feel good about our area. It's going to allow us to do a variety of things. You know, we've got our interstate. Let's just kind of talk a little bit about the uses, both TIF and business district wise. You know, we've got our what I would term our more major employers, perhaps. To the north, we've got our, and so the TIF could be utilized to help those folks. Not only, yeah, after page 2 is where the map is. You know, we're going to be able to talk to those folks a little bit, both to help recruit new folks in and to make sure we keep our folks here. We don't want anybody leaving. That happens far too often, especially in communities in, you know, our more rural communities where folks take off and go to Decatur or go to Champaign or go to Springfield. We need to make sure we keep our larger employers here. We certainly we have brought the school district into the area. Certainly downtown will remain a focus to help with doing a variety of, let's continue to make this a point of commerce. Let's bring more folks into our downtown. Things that TIF can do ultimately are helping with building rehab, helping to bring those vacant buildings. Let's get some folks in there. There's likely some historic structures which you could utilize some monies to help folks restore historic structures. There are some buildings I'm sure that need to come down too, that you can utilize TIF or business district monies to take down if necessary. And then we've got sort of our newer commercial area where we could stand. I look at more like as a business recruitment, more or less area. And then certainly we have our interstate, which I know is a focus to attract more folks, maybe get some more. We know what our neighbors both to the east and west are doing with their interstate. It would be nice for us to capture the quote-unquote interstate trade and get some folks getting gas and eating food here in Farmer City as opposed to down the road. And so that would be a focus. And that also could be an area where you can focus on some more industrial or office type of improvement as well. I would say the TIF, I feel pretty good about it. It's going to allow you guys to get a lot of things. It is contiguous to your existing. The business district we could scale down if you wanted. I wouldn't have an issue with that because I know that had come up. I know Larry and maybe Mayor, when we had said that. Or if you want to save some money, honestly, we could keep them the same because the business district only impacts those that are pay sales tax, so it doesn't matter. And so that's not a decision I'm looking for tonight or anything like that. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out. We could scale that down, and I still feel good about the area qualifying as well. Unless you just said just Casey's. I'm like, no. I mean, provided we have a relatively sized
business district, as stated here, you feel confident that?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. Where you save money, honestly, is the legal description. We need to have a meets and bounds legal description. Ultimately, if you guys are going to do the TIF in the business district, your engineers are going to have to do a legal description, which is a cost and is necessary. If you keep the same areas, you need one legal description for both areas. If we have different, it's going to be different. That's one thought. It should save you a few bucks.
Business district would be the same.
No, what TIF 3 would be TIF 3, the business district would be the business district. We're just getting some of the work done.
I think you mean the overlay though.
Oh, the overlay.
Yeah.
No, business district would be.
It could be the same areas that we've depicted on the TIF, or we could
I think our
rework it.
concern is raising any sort of sales tax in the downtown area.
Okay.
We don't want to do that. At least, I mean, that was some conversations that some of us had. So, I mean, I'm by no means a decision maker on that. I'm just saying that's one thought would be that maybe the business district would cut off here, so it'd be from here to here roughly. So
Okay.
it's, from north of the interstate down to somewhere on the highway down to Casey's.
No, as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you would have 2 business districts, one on Main, if you wanted to.
That would be
You
one
have 2
thing
business
as well.
districts, you'd have one on Main Street, you'd have one that from the interstate all the way down to, I don't know,
Yeah.
to Lincoln Street, okay? You stopped it there. They're connecting, that way if you were, if there was tax revenue that was generated in Business District 1, they could be used to develop the business district.
That's sort of the idea. So you would have to do two businesses. They would both have to qualify. I mean, we just kind of chop it.
Right.
Which I feel good about, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, and everybody does it a little different. We want to talk to Ken a little bit, but you pass generally two ordinances when you get done with the end of the business district process. One establishes the business district area and establishes the redevelopment plan. The other ordinance establishes the tax. And what we would do under these circumstances is only one business district would have the second ordinance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that those addresses would be, so that's how we would do that. And that's what a lot of folks are looking to do, truthfully.
It's kind of what we're leaning towards.
Is that, okay, and I wasn't exactly sure, but that's certainly something we can do.
And we'll definitely have a lot more conversation about it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
just, interesting to hear what you're saying on that, so.
I wish we could do it different, but that's the only way we can do it.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the point that what we're gonna want, I think you get it, this is sort of a conglomeration. This is the taxpayer listing thing. Did you ever see this? The Illinois Department of Revenue? We can get a copy, I would love you for it. Because it helps us communicate with Illinois Department of Revenue that much easier. I can almost just easily give you that. And then you could email it or fax it, it makes no difference to me. The only other thing on the business district, TIF, we've got all the time in the world to kind of take our time and move through that process. The business district, and I'm not pressing you guys, I just want to make sure that we know.
March.
Which next step business district wise, I mean, we try to keep the TIF and business district process going at the same time just for efficiency purposes. But yeah, if you want this thing in sooner rather than later, we'd have to present something by your February, how many meetings are you having in February?
Unless
And
we do
that's-
special.
We can always do a special.
And I was looking at the 15th,
Okay.
that would be your normal, I think, first and third, right? First and third Mondays. I'm almost positive the 15th would be that date.
Yeah.
We'd have to watch, and I can work with you on holiday schedules and however that might flow in.
Yeah,
But-
I only do the 22nd, because I think 15th is a holiday, somehow.
Oh, no, but we would need we would probably need the 16th, to be honest with you, or 17th.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, Washington's President's Day, that's what 15th is.
Okay, so we'd have to kind of watch that date. The way the schedule, and I'm just taking you through sort of the act.
16th.
Because you got to present, pass a resolution, then we'd have a public hearing, which I would look to do at your first meeting, which I believe would be March 7th?
First, I think, isn't
Yeah, thanks, sorry.
Yeah, March 1st, or February 1st, apologize. Did you say
No,
February or March?
a public hearing would be the first week in March, which would be the
March
7th.
7th, you're right.
Okay, so we would have we would kind of I spy that date, thank you, sir, as your public hearing date for the business districts. And then we would adopt 2 weeks after that, which would allow us to move those items to the Illinois Department of Revenue. What I would also try to do, if we could, and it would make sense, we could present the more formalness of the TIF at that point if you so chose, on February 15th, and just continue on that schedule too. Yeah, we could do that too. That'll save you a little bit of money, and it'll allow us to be efficient. But then just so you guys know, business district doesn't involve taxing districts whatsoever. Just I wasn't sure if you knew that or not. Okay. TIF, obviously, that process would take a lot longer than March. Okay, there would be, that process would involve a series of notifications, ultimately a joint review board as you're experienced with. We'd also have a public hearing, all that would,
I think gas is included. Is gasoline included in the
Yes.
tax increase? It is.
Yes.
It is.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question of Mr. Moran?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that acceptable? Okay. Just a quick question on the business districts.
Mhm.
Similar to a TIF, a business district, those funds raised can only be spent within the business district.
yes,
Is that
but you can
correct?
do a whole lot more with them. You can actually use it for vertical construction. if you so chose. In a TIF, you can.
Meaning,
Think largely the same types of costs, and think certainly, for the most part, those monies can only be used in the business district for the most part too, yes.
and then how are the, you'd mentioned ordinances, obviously with two business districts, they could potentially have two different tax rates, which I think is the discussion.
They could, yes.
Who determines those tax rates?
The way that works is you can, up to 1%.
1% is the maximum that you can
Right.
charge, and 0% is the least amount that you can.
It's gotta be in quarter cent increments, you can't do like 0.33, it'd be quarter, half, three-fourths, or more.
So if a business district is approved, that also automatically approves up to a 1 cent
Yes,
tax increase?
yes.
Got it.
Sales
Sales
tax.
tax increase.
And you know, what I should do, if I may, and we did look at this, but it's not a bad idea to kind of reintroduce that, is we kind of looked before, I mean, we kind of did sort of a hard target look. What are other folks going to be paying sales tax to? Because no one likes to hear these terms. You know, you've got Champaign, Urbana, Decatur, all sitting with a 9% sales tax. You've got Bloomington and Normal sitting at 7 3/4. You've got Mahomet, interestingly, at 8.5%. Mansfield at 7 1/4. Clinton, but I know Clinton's doing something. They got like a 6 3/4. I mean, but when you look at where most folks shop, ours is going to be 7 1/4, well below where most people are going to shop. So, I mean, when you compare yourself, you're paying significantly less, even with a business district, than you would in Champaign, Urbana, Decatur, Bloomington, and whatnot. So, just kind of want to I think it's fair to make sure you guys know that, because if you're going over those guys, I would tell you not to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, another question.
Thanks. Are you saying that if the sales tax was increased the full 1%, it would be 7 1/4?
Yes,
And what did you say about how it affects gasoline? Does it?
it
It
does.
would be
Yes,
1
it
cent,
does.
yeah, or 1%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next step is we need to pass a resolution to enter an agreement for a full TIF study, correct?
In business district, yeah.
And a business district, okay.
And I can get you something. What would be nice, and I'm not pushing it. What would be nice is February 1st would be your next meeting.
It'll be next Monday, and as soon as we're done, we'll bring that up in discussion about pushing forward with
Okay.
the next week, voting on that.
I want to make sure we got everything accurately depicted TIF-wise, two business districts, so I wasn't sure how we were going to do that. But I can,
It'd be the two business.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll discuss.
it's likely, that's, okay.
It's likely two business district, and
Okay.
we've got the school in.
Yes.
I see that we've got the schools
Yes.
in the TIF district. Okay.
So that we can appropriately assist them as needed.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's pretty much where it's at, but qualifying, yes. And yeah, just, I mean, we're right there, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any further questions? Discussion? Well, no, obviously, we have some serious reading to do, but on that, we will also be here in a moment. We'll be discussing this. So, thank you, sir.
Do you want me to stick around, or what do
You
you
know
need me
what?
to do?
I think
I'm-
if you could,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
So I know that I'll have to have you actually step out of the room for a minute or two, but it won't take too long. So the next thing.
What we were talking just now, the purpose, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, because it's on the agenda. So your thoughts, I guess I'll throw it there. My thoughts are next week we bring this to a vote. We have time to read about it, and then on the next week's agenda, we're voting for a full TIF study and two business districts. The primary business district will be the corridor into I-74 and will end, I was thinking, around Subway area. And then the second business district would be down Main Street. They would connect. I'm personally interested in a 1% increase on the main corridor with a 0% increase on Main Street. So those are my thoughts, and of course move forward with the TIF. So any thoughts, discussion before?
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that. Because
Scott?
we're going to have some issues we're going to have to fix, and that will create the money to actually fix the infrastructure over there.
As I understand, $40,000 a year a business district can generate. Is that's kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not staring at my phone or pen. I got my computer here. I'll make
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh,
My question would be how, you got Emos in the main district, in Subway, then you got other restaurants that would not be affected by the tax increase.
That is true.
So I'm concerned with how to make that a more fair issue.
Here would be my argument is those other restaurants are also not in the business district and cannot benefit from the extra, or the money that is raised there. So what we can, I would hope that this council will utilize those dollars to benefit the businesses there, to bring in more customers to them. So, you got down the road, you got a couple of businesses. They're not in that district, so they wouldn't be able to generate, benefit from that income either, unless you brought them in. You're talking about we've got there's the new cafe, and you also have the fish wagon.
Right.
That's there. So your maybe thoughts even bringing that further so that they could benefit,
Yes.
including them in the 1% raise in taxes.
Yes.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Otherwise, they can't use that money.
They would not be able to use that money, and it would also put them on the same battleground, if you will, with the other restaurants. So everyone other than,
Well, I don't want to penalize the two restaurants. I don't want to exclude the others from being able to access that money.
what do you mean by penalize? Oh, you're talking about not in the district? Okay.
In order to draw those both in, you're putting walkers in there as well. For it to be contiguous, it'd have to be.
Yep. My recommendation is this. Sir, am I right? So next week we could discuss the what we would like to see the business district kind of mapped out. So we would vote on that and discuss. At that meeting, what we would like, and then once we pass it, we bring it
yes.
before you.
Yep.
Okay.
We have some time in between that and the time we would need to present by February 15th, as long as we felt good about what areas were where.
Okay.
And we can work with you on mapping, and you guys know
That's a great point. It is a great
This
point.
fish wagon doesn't qualify now.
It doesn't qualify now, and unfortunately, it would be awesome right now if they were in the TIF district, because they have their own, they have their own pains and woes. And I asked Larry the other day if there was any way that we could help them, and there is no way. So it would be nice if they were in that district. That way they could receive those funds.
Right.
And of course Walker would be in that as well.
It's just going down to 54.
Yep. Is there any objection to placing that on the agenda next week? 2 business districts, 1 TIF, full-fledged study. Next week, we'd appreciate that, thank you. Sir, thank you. I don't have anything else, so next week we'll be hopefully moving forward and getting you some decisions. And
my cell phone, I'm available, and Jared of my office. I know somehow you thought I was Georgia of my office who you met here before, but that's actually me.
Okay.
But email will work great, my cell phone will work great, and Jared of my office, who will get you all everything, is a good person to kind of help map-wise and whatnot. So,
very good.
and you guys just call as needed.
Well, we appreciate
Yeah,
your work,
thanks,
and we appreciate this document, and we'll be able to study it, and we'll talk even more in depth about it next week. So, very good. Let's see your agenda. There's nothing else on the agenda right there. Any other items? Yeah, well, I have 2 things. I'm naming Scott Testry and also Matt Carden as the city's representative to interact with FFP. So,
I did the last contract, so go forth and do well.
yeah, and that'll begin
I
here
worked on the last
within.
contract, they didn't do it.
I'll let you gentlemen know when there's a meeting scheduled. Try to give you as much notice as I can.
Good.
Got to work with two different attorneys, so.
The second thing is we will have an application for the empty councilperson seats available at City Hall come Wednesday morning. And I'm going to keep that open for 2 weeks. Let me give you the actual date on that. I'll probably just do this calendar. Yeah, just 2 weeks. So what is today? So that would be the 4th and the... Oh, yeah.
You need it on the 27th.
Right here, right? So you're gonna put it here, so 9th?
The 9th. So we have those applications, 27th through the 9th of February. Close the business day the 9th.
What's involved in completing the application? Do they need to get signatures also?
No, they just need to do the application, and the Illinois handbook states that I can choose someone to bring in front of you. I'm not going to do it that way. But ultimately, I will choose and bring them before you for a vote, but what is going to happen is they're going to fill out the applications. I'll speak to a few other people, but I would like them to be interviewed by the city council. And then we bring forth a few names for me to consider, and then I'll consider it and bring that one person back to the city council. So I think that we need to approach this, I don't want to just approach it unilaterally. So I appreciate your all feedback, and
But it's not an arduous process to get your application.
it is not like, exactly, you don't have to do any of that. It's just fill out the application and we'll go from there. And of course, you gotta qualify. You have to live within city residents and
Right.
all of those, so very good. That's all I have. Does anybody have anything? We have another meeting next week, and that's at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. All right.
No, it's okay.
Appreciate it.
That's it. Anything? Yes. I would entertain that.
Do you call that then?
Yes.
Let me do this so I can read it, because I can't go out there. All right, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session, personnel to discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, and/or performance of specific employees pursuant to section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act, 5 ILCS 102/2C1.
Thanks, guys.
Do I have a second?
Yes, how's that?
Call it.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Harden?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
We are now in open session. You were going to say?
Just wanted to make sure we don't forget about extending that down 54 for the fish wagon.
We can do that. I mean, we'll discuss that next week. So, I mean, everybody needs to look this over and, consider what we're doing. Obviously, anytime you raise taxes like that, it's, there's, 1% is 1%, and it does affect people. However, I think that the drawing more people into this community and increasing the business district is going to be better for everybody in this community. It's going to be, I think it's a good thing. So, but we can discuss that next week. Any other non-agenda items? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Taking it.
Call it when you're there.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Harden?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Meeting